Welcome to Inspired Chi Radio with your hosts AJ Johnsack and Tracy Sanjanetti. In this program, we explore what makes you a powerful soul by learning to connect with your guides and master your own energy. It's time once and for all to get rid of the obstacles in your life that are keeping you from being the true soul you are meant to be. Now, here are your hosts, Tracy and AJ.
Hello, and welcome to Inspired Chi Radio, the place to start your week inspired. My name is AJ Johnsack.
And I'm Tracy Sanjanetti.
And together we are
Inspired Chi.
Welcome back to this week's episode. We're very happy to have you here. We're going to introduce you to our guest in just a moment. I'm going to introduce you to our guest in just a moment. But Tracy, for right now, would you like to recap last week's episode?
Yes, last week we had the honor of interviewing spiritual medium Teresa Roba. And we talked a lot about heaven, crossing over, angels, and Teresa's journey to becoming a conduit for the souls that have crossed over to communicate with their loved ones in this dimension. It was very fascinating. If you've not had a chance to listen to that, absolutely do it. We had so much fun in the interview. She's a hoot, by the way. She is hysterical.
We had so much fun, and it was such a great reminder to perhaps some of our audience who think that as you're learning these spiritual modalities, or if you're on your spiritual path, that it must be very, very serious. And there we are laughing the entire time, but your spirituality should not be a drudge. Your spirituality should open up creativity and bring you joy. And if it's not, then maybe you need to look at your path. But also, why not have fun along the way, right, Tracy?
Why not?
I mean, there's seldom a day we're not working together that we're not laughing, usually at ourselves, but that's okay. That is absolutely okay. And make sure you tune in, listen to the episode if you were not able to catch it live, and you'll hear about the gift away that we did in that segment. That was, Teresa had given us an outline to follow on looking at some of your areas of life that you want to work on. So that was something we were happy to put out. Tonight's episode, I have to say, I'm very honored and very happy to be introducing our guest. Brilliant woman, loving soul, spiritual advisor, tarot, Reiki, Kundalini energy teacher and master, intuitive path consultant, and my partner in time, our very own Tracy Sanjanetti. So, welcome to your show.
AJ, I'm so happy to be here. I just got in.
And boy, are my arms tired, right?
Absolutely.
Excellent. And Tracy and I, we've talked about this openly on previous episodes, how long we've known each other, how we've met. Some of it I remember, some of it I did not, and, which is always fun when you look back and you hear about how people found you to be when they first met you. From my perspective, I found Tracy to immediately be a very old soul and somebody that I connected with right away, but somebody that I felt that we've done this through multiple lifetimes.
Yes.
And so it was a quiet knowing, which is the way these things happen. And we all started paths in different directions, and takes us on very windy roads. And Tracy, you started your journey actually as a young child, a teenager, reading runes. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your journey?
I did. Well, it's kind of funny. My mother was always very supportive along my spiritual journey, mainly because a lot of the books that I started reading, I stole from her. And I say stole, maybe I lovingly borrowed from her.
Have you ever given them back?
Well, she's still giving them to me to this day. Every time Maya goes over there to see her, she's like, we found some more books for you. So it was definitely a wealth of information. But what she did not know at the time was that when I was 12, I stole her rune cards and took them down to my friend Ruthie's house to read people's fortunes. And the runes were a lot less intimidating than the tarot would eventually be. But I remember my mom saying, it's my birthday, I wanted to do my rune reading, where are my runes? And here I had left them at Ruthie's house. So that was when I was 12. I read the runes for myself, for my friends, and then at 13, my mother gifted me my own tarot set, which thus began the journey of what I mainly do in my work now.
But had your mom been reading tarot cards as you were growing up? Had you seen her do this? Had she read for you? Or did she just have them? It was kind of her secret passion.
I do recall my mother, knowing this later in life, having conversations with her, she did take a few psychic development classes. She had an inherent intuition. She'd read a lot of different books and everything like that. But I believe that the runes were the only set of oracle cards that she was using as her guide.
That's interesting, because I think that certainly tarot decks are very popular, very widely known, and very often the first oracle deck of any kind that people tend to go towards. The rune cards, I know the first time you read rune cards for me, I thought I've heard of rune stones, never saw them in an oracle deck. That's interesting. And by the way, how was the party when you read it at Ruthie's house? Did your friends welcome that? Were they?
I mean, I don't even know what kind of real problems we were having at that time that we needed to solve, but we were always approaching things from a standpoint of like personal growth and personal development. Mm-hmm. Like I think I've been reading personal development books since my early teenage years. You know, back then they were called self-help books, right? Mm-hmm. Now we've kind of mastered it has to do with more of personal development and manifesting in your own life. But there was an echo of both. So the intuition and guiding your intuition, and also taking responsibility for your own personal development.
And that's interesting, because if we say it's self-help, that almost makes us think that it's a one and done kind of thing. Oh, like you need to get the plumber in to fix the sink pipe.
Right.
Well, as soon as he fixes it, you're done, right? And there's no further problem and no further action needed. When we talk about self-development, I think it almost gives us breathing room. We know it's not a one and done. So if we don't master something right away, it doesn't make a difference, because it's not to master it, it's to experience it. So tarot, I think, is such a great example of that, because there are more cards to learn and use and understand. And it's not something that you're going to just do a one and done. It takes time to learn the tarot, and we're going to go into that in a few moments. But I'd like to hear a little bit more about how your own personal development over the years from reading runes. How has your impression of tarot changed from sitting in Ruthie's basement at age 13 to a slightly older age now?
Slightly. Well, I think that over the years, a lot of when I got better with the tarot, it happened through reading my own tarot in situations that I was going through. So a lot of my learning the tarot was through my own personal growth and experiences, and just wanting answers. Am I on the right path? Is he the one? What is happening? And I would do it to the degree where it would almost be part of anxiety, when you're continuously reading and reading, expecting a different result, trying to understand if this is meant for you, rather than kind of going in and reading with my own intuition. I did that for my own personal development, for friends of mine. And I never put it down. I continued to read, but I didn't really read for others in the capacity that I do now. That didn't happen until much later. So in that time period, I really got to know the runes and their meanings and the different ways that they spoke to each other in readings by, again, reading for myself, reading for my friends, reading different books on the subject, and I was very fascinated with that. Moving forward, let's fast forward 20 years, I found myself no longer going to be the owner of a salon, ending a 20-year stint as a stylist and salon owner, wanting to create a new path for myself, but really also missing the connection that I would have with my clients. Because a lot of what happened in those 20 years as a stylist from behind the chair was connecting to people and their experiences and watching their own personal growth. So that had a lot to do with it. But when I changed careers to where I am now in the cancer center, which is a completely different vibe entirely. I was missing that human connection of sitting down, talking to my clients, having them tell me their stories, going, back and forth, that personal connection. So I actually started reading for my clients that were my clients as a stylist, you being one of them.
Absolutely.
And it started from reading for my friends to then reading for my clients to saying, I love this. I really enjoy being able to open up the patterns and show the aspects and be able to do that. So that's kind of how many years later I picked this back up again and ended up here.
I'd be curious to know the statistics on how many stylists are natural and practicing empaths, readers, Reiki masters, because you do hear everything in the chair. I know that there'd be times where you would be doing my hair, and while we would be talking, you can't help but overhear somebody in the chair next to you and think, oh, Tracy, slow down. I want to hear the end of that story.
Yeah.
So to have all this information at your fingertips, the universe playing itself out in front of you, it had to have been fascinating. And I know that in the work that we do through Inspired Chi, it's that connection that we make with other people and what that does for our own self-awareness. I can understand how you would miss that, if not crave that, after a period of time. And each story tells us something about ourselves. So each reading tells us something about ourselves.
It absolutely does. And I'm a very nosy person.
I was going to say inquisitive.
And I'm very, I'm also very open about my own experiences.
Yes.
And, not being the least bit shocked at whatever anybody has to say to me. So that's usually helpful in that experience that I didn't realize back then, that intimacy that was created with my clients, and some of them are still my clients to this day in this new aspect of my work, and dear friends to this day. When you're creating that intimate conversation and being able to be open and being able to, give advice that's not always warranted, but needs to be heard, and being in that zone where you can be comfortable enough to do that, you're being trained. You're essentially being trained to have even more intimate conversations. Because when you open up someone's tarot reading, you're looking at everything. You're looking at the aspects where maybe the client hasn't played the best role, maybe some things that the client isn't open to see about people in their environment, which is a hard thing to really relay sometimes. And I try and do it as delicately as possible, or as blunt as possible when that's what is needed. So I think a lot of times the path that we're on is training us for the next path that we're actually supposed to be on, our own personal mission. And as a stylist, as much as I love that human interaction, I loved my clients, I was not passionate about hair. It was a career that I chose. It was a path that I chose. I happened to be good at it, but I loved the environment. I loved the people. That had more to do with anything. I loved the gossip magazines. I loved I don't have to be in till 10 o'clock. Like, it was a very good environment for my personality and being able to express myself artistically and have these open conversations with people. That ultimately is what I do today.
I think it was necessary for your soul development to put you in that position so that you could understand the depth of people longing for answers, the depth of people longing for love and connection and commitment and self-awareness and satisfaction and security and on and on and on. All the things that come up in tarot readings or in other readings, other energy work that we do. For our audience, let me tell you that you're actually in for a treat, because in our next segment, Tracy's actually going to pull a couple of cards as part of what she's going to be talking about, the tarot cards themselves. And at the end, make sure you stay tuned, because we have a gift away, courtesy of Inspired Chi. We're very excited to share that with you. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to dive right into learning the tarot and experiencing it firsthand. Join us in just a moment.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
Our thoughts and feelings not only affect our own lives, but the lives of everyone around us. Find new meanings of love, authentic expressions, and better connections with the people in your life. Tune in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. This program will feature guests and discuss ideas that will bring a better life to you. When you find this perspective on love, it will change everything. Listen live every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time and 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel.
We're with you wherever Alexa and Google are. At home, in the car, on your smart TV, and your connected devices.
Hey, Alexa.
Hey, Google. Play my favorite Voice America podcast on TuneIn.
It's just that easy. But make sure you actually mention the name of the podcast show to make it work.
This is Inspired Chi Radio. To reach the program today, please call 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. Or send an email to yourtruechi@gmail.com. Now, back to AJ and Tracy.
And welcome back to Inspired Chi Radio. Our guest this evening is our very own Tracy Sanginetti from Inspired Chi, my partner in time. By the way, thank you for choosing me karmically again.
Thank you for choosing me karmically.
Oh, it's my pleasure. When we left, we promised that in this segment, Tracy was going to be looking at some cards that I got the opportunity to pull for our audience. And we're going to be talking about the major arcana and the karmic cycles that go along with that. Tracy, if I'm correct on this, because you and Nick Johnzak are my tarot teachers. And honestly, audience, they've been trying to teach me this for a very long time. The major arcana, that's the Fool's Journey, correct?
That is the Fool's Journey. The major arcana is the first 22 of the tarot cards. There's many tarot cards. That's 76, I believe. But the major arcana are the universally driven karmic cards, meaning when they come up in your life, it's something that is a push from the universe, it's divinely timed, or it's part of your karmic cycle, and it's coming up for a reason, for you to master it, for you to heal it, whatever that may be. The reason they call it the Fool's Journey is because we start with the Fool, and the major arcana numbers that as 0. And we begin the journey as the Fool, because with any new endeavor, whether that be in love, in career, whether it be big or little, you have to start out as the Fool. You're beginning your journey inexperienced. You're beginning it with hope that it's going to work out, of the certain naive approach, but also a very innocent approach. You're not really going into it. Of course, you're tainted by your life experiences, but when you start anything, you have to be hopeful that it's going to work out, or why start at all? So we always start every journey as the Fool. And as we go through the cycle of cards leading up to the World, and we'll talk about that when we flip a couple cards here, it's all of the different things that you may experience along the way, along the journey. And then when you get to the World, it's usually when that cycle is ready to be closed out. And it is a time to think of everything that you have learned, to really pat yourself on the back for finishing up that cycle and experiencing and getting through all of the cards, because as we'll talk about shortly, not all of them are pleasant. Not all of your karmic cycles and experiences are going to be pleasant. It's really dependent upon your growth. So if something comes up for you in the major arcana as a hurdle that you need to overcome, you need to really look at that from a standpoint of it building the strength for you to complete the cycle, so that when you begin again as the Fool on the next mountain, on the next journey, you can do so wiser, with a little bit more confidence.
So the cycles continue, the journey continues. The Fool is ground zero.
Yes.
It's your starting point.
Yes.
And the World is, okay, I've got it. Referring to not just, okay, I've increased abundance. is it more about, okay, I've got it, I understand what my own journey is, and then we just start the journey again on the next leg of that journey?
Yes, and they don't always happen in direct order.
Right.
So if you're at the next step, once you've decided to take that leap of faith, make that decision, you would come upon the magician. So normally that would be next. And the magician is you having the power to manifest and create and make things happen in the physical reality. So sometimes people skip around. Sometimes circumstances dictate that you do skip around.
Right.
So you may not experience every one of those cards on every single journey. You may experience them out of order, but you will certainly know when you're finished the cycle.
Well, interestingly enough, this just popped into my head. We don't learn them in order of the cards, of course. We learn them in order of what we need to experience next, or what we've chosen to experience next. When I do work for clients, very often if I'm talking about a variety of past lives, the first one might be, okay, 37 lives ago, and the next one is, in your last life, and then the third life I might look at would be 17. People say, well, are they out of order? No. It's the importance of whatever message you need to hear first, second, third, whatever.
Right, what comes up.
What comes up. As we go through these cards that were pulled for our audience in this segment, remember that what comes up for you, right, for what Tracy shares about these cards may not resonate with you right this moment. Listen to the message. You might be surprised at some of the synchronicities, some of the omens, the signs, some of the messages that you receive that in a day, a week, these messages become more clear to you. But also, Tracy, the message may not be for everybody.
Well, that would be with a general reading, which we've kind of done here. It may resonate with you, it may not. We more or less pulled 3 cards just to give you a general example of some of the lessons and information you may gain from the cards. Each tarot reader is different. Each tarot deck is different. So you'll get different images and messages along with it. But because we're working with the major arcana, you pulled 3 major.
I did pull them.
And I do have to say that I love that the world is here, because we were just talking about closing the cycle. We did not do that on purpose, but I'm happy it's one of the cards that we're discussing. So Agnes had chosen 3 cards, and I just laid them down to do a little bit of a past, present, and future. Again, this isn't necessarily a message for the collective. It's more of an example. But if it's resonated and there is a message, don't not take it.
And you're welcome.
So in the past, we have the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune is in direct relation to your karmic destiny. So
Tracy, can I stop you for just a second? So it's just kind of like a past, present, future.
This 3-card reading that we're going to do just for an example is not perfect. Every different tarot spread is based on what the client is needing, what is going on, and what information we're trying to deduct. Excellent. But because we're just trying to use this as an example, we're just saying past, present, future to say we're at the position of the cards.
Excellent.
So the Wheel of Fortune is being in touch with your immediate destiny. So say, for instance, this would come up in your reading. It would mean that you're supposed to be here.
Yay.
You're supposed to be here at this time experiencing this because of something either that you're writing from the past or something that's about to come up for you in the future. So personally, as a tarot reader, I don't read reversals. Some readers do.
Yes.
If you were to see this reverse, this may represent something like a string of bad luck that may have been going on in the past for you. So when we see that Wheel of Fortune, as with any major arcana card, we know that this is universally driven. This is part of your karmic cycle. Versus the other cards, which we will come to in another lesson, another time, has to do a little bit more with environmental factors, things that you can control, and people in your life. These are just the circumstance that you find yourself in. So if this was a person's reading, and we were saying that the Wheel of Fortune was in the past, this would be talking about what you just experienced was part of your karmic cycle and destiny. And moving forward, whatever lessons that you gained from that, or people that you may have met, or experiences that may have come up, a job that you may have taken, this is part of your destiny. It's letting you know, like, ooh, yes, you're on the right track, especially if it's right side up. And then moving forward, we have the World in the place of the present. So this client, with this 3-card reading, would be dealing with closing out a major cycle. It would mean that the way that this has been going for them, this cycle that they have been on, let's look at it from a job perspective. that maybe they started out as the full, maybe at an entry-level position, and they continue to work up and maybe have some disappointments and maybe learn some new things along the way, but ultimately they might see the world because maybe now it's time for them to open up their own establishment after training in a position and being in it for a long time. Sometimes the world can come up just to let us know that it's time to move forward. It's time to move on. You've learned everything that you can from this lesson. It's time for the next one.
Time to travel.
Yes. And in the future position, we have temperance, which is a balancing not only of the outer energies of, keeping your quote unquote in balance, but also of balancing the light and dark within you, the shadow aspects of your personality, some of the things that could be interfering in your growth and what you're manifesting, as well as the light within yourself, and just finding that balance and understanding that there's measure in both. There's information that you gain and lessons that you learn to take with you in knowing both of them and finding a balance between that angel and devil, which is also common with the Justice card. But specifically for this would look to me that whatever this person's journey that they were on was part of their destiny, but it's time for it to come to a close. They should be really proud of themselves for reaching this end, and they should take all of the lessons as they move forward with a more balanced perspective, tending to both sides of their personality and not trying to hide or shun one of them, accepting all of it and healing what needs to be healed.
Well, those cards were specifically pulled for our audience, but I feel like you've all had a glimpse into my life once again. Somehow these cards are resonating with me a great deal. When we talk about temperance, I think most of us would think of that as balance. But I want to talk about balance for just a moment, because one thing I have learned about the tarot is that when I've had readings from you, when I've had readings from Nick, I really walk away with, am I taking rest? Am I incorporating rest? Mm-hmm. I don't have to make a decision on this today. I don't have to move forward on this today. I just have to recognize that the time to do so is now. And making a decision moving forward, then there can be a period of rest. I don't need to start that next journey, in 2 minutes. How important is just taking time to sit with messages, Tracy? How important is that for folks to really incorporate them into what they're trying to do in their lives?
So I usually recommend that you don't come and see me if 3 to 6 months have not elapsed, because you need time to allow things to unfold for you to truly understand, accept the new information in, see what your intuition says, see how you feel about it, and see if you can really see that in your life as movement. Mm-hmm. So if you're coming to me about a relationship and some of the things had not been worked on, that we talked about in the reading that needed a little bit of work internally, then you're not going to experience those benefits externally. So you want some time to take the advice, to see it at work in your life, to see what else unfolds that may provide more information. We do a lot of our insight readings, which we'll get to in a minute, by the lunar cycles. I always say right around the full moon, that's when some more information shakes out before you make a decision. So a lot of times you want that time period to elapse. You don't want to be continuously looking for answers constantly, because that's not intuition, that's anxiety. I know firsthand.
Yes.
Of wanting to know that answer and needing it not to be unexpected or come out of nowhere for you, and trying to have control over what you don't have control over, ultimately, which brings me to the Tower card. So the Tower card is something that I have a love-hate relationship with. If you've ever experienced that in your reading, it could be a very scary image. Some of the tarot decks that we have now do a calmer depiction of that, but it's literally a man flying from a burning building. So it doesn't really give you a sense of like that squishy and cushy feeling when you see that in your reading. But the thing about the Tower is our Tower moments in life, those upheavals, those changes, those unexpected shocking events, are usually either to push us in the new direction that we knew we needed to go in and haven't, or something that we hadn't considered. Not all of the Tower cards are negative cards. Some of them can represent like a breakthrough. Like you would think of I might get a Tower right before I moved, talking about a change, an upheaval, something coming in that is going to change everything up, and you're going to rebuild anew. Because after the Tower card, you have the Star, which is a rebirth and renewal. So what a lot of people don't understand is you're going to continuously have that tower come up throughout your life, whether because things have gone on that are unexpected, big or little, or because throughout your own personal development and improvement, these breakthroughs are being gifted to you. So not expecting life to have tower moments is like not being prepared ever, because tower moments happen on a boring Tuesday. They don't happen when you've planned it. Like, this is going to be my tower Saturday, and this tower moment is going to change my life because I've had to rebuild. Because when you've been shaken to the core with a tower moment, you never rebuild the same. You learn the lesson, you change internally. And a lot of times that's being done for us, not to us, to move us into a direction that will better serve us or out of something that no longer serves us.
And sometimes we won't make a move unless everything falls down around us.
And we have no choice.
And we have no choice. And I always say it's amazing how strong you can be when you have no other choice but to be strong. But you have a choice, and we hope that you'll be back and join us back in just another moment. We're going to take a short break, so make the right choice here. Join us back here in just a moment at Inspired Chi Radio.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
Are you aware that each one of us was born with a mission, a sense of purpose? Even if you don't know it yet, it will reveal itself. Pay attention to the clues that will lead you to uncover your mission. Listen to Mission Possible program with host Carol Ann Fernandez. Along with some amazing guests, Carol Ann seeks to help you along the journey to manifest your mission. It's time to unleash your greater potential. Mission Possible program airs live every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Voice America Empowerment.
We're with you wherever Alexa and Google are. At home, in the car, on your smart TV, and your connected devices.
Hey, Alexa.
Hey, Google. Play my favorite Voice America podcast on TuneIn.
It's just that easy. But don't forget to make sure you actually mention the name of the podcast show to make it work.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
This is Inspired Chi Radio. To reach the program today, please call 1-888-346-9141. That's 1-888-346-9141. Or send an email to yourtruechi@gmail.com. Now, back to AJ and Tracy.
And welcome back to Inspired Chi Radio, the place to start your week inspired. We've been speaking to our very special guest, Tracy Sanginetti, co-host and my partner in Inspired Chi. And a few moments ago, we were speaking about the Tower card and what that represents. I actually love that card. I know. Every time I say that, Tracy laughs, but I always think, great, now I have no choice but to start over. So sometimes that's the kick in the tush that I need. But I think there's another card, Tracy, that people perhaps interpret as just one way. And again, one of my favorite cards, and yes, I am a freak, I guess, is the Death card.
Yes.
People misunderstand that or fear that. There are very few people in the collection of us who say, oh, I love to see that card. Would you speak for a few moments about the Death card?
So first, let me say any major arcana that is in your reading is also balanced out by the other cards that are speaking to each other. So that has a lot to do with what would go on in a more personalized reading. But the Death card specifically will very, very rarely depict actual death, actual physical death. Mm-hmm. It has in cases, right, but not typically. Usually that means that you're going to be undergoing a death within yourself, a sort of transformation, because the life that you've been living has outgrown its form, and it's time to let that die so that you can begin anew. So that really has what it, like, and sometimes it could be in regards to, say, if we're asking about a relationship, and if the Death card comes over the relationship, well, it's either dead or you need to rehaul that and transform it to get it to continue to work. A lot of times the death card comes up, it's not a surprise to people. A lot of time where the Tower is a little bit more of a surprise. With the death card, it's kind of like, I know, but what do I have to change to move forward? And I think a lot of people in their readings don't realize you have to do the first part to get to the second part.
Well, I always say, if people come to any kind of energy work just for fun, that's great. That's absolutely fine. A fun reading will be one that you talk about. An insightful reading will be one that you not only talk about, but that you do something about. And for those folks who are finding tarot something that, I'd like to learn more about that, Tracy Inspired Chi in this summer, 2020, you're going to be teaching again on the tarot. Would you speak about that for a few moments?
Yes, I had used the tarot for personal development long before I ever thought that I would be reading people professionally get it. That wasn't even a thought in my mind at the time when I learned it. So over last year, we did an Awaken event, and I did a little bit of a talk on teaching tarot for personal development, and I really enjoyed that. And I think a lot of the clients that took the time to take that, it was very helpful for them. So what are some reasons that you might seek out tarot? A, for your own personal development, or B, to aid in the help of others and helping them, make sure that they feel good and confident along their path and give them that validation. So we are going to have two types of classes that will be offered. One would be a Tarot 101, which would be more for your own personal development. And the other would be as more of a part of your spiritual journey for the healers and intuitives that are reading already for their clients and are doing healing work already and just are looking for a different avenue of exploration in being able to not just predict what's coming up, but also share in what aspects the client is currently being presented with and how they can make the most out of that in their own life to their best advantage, where I think is what comes up with that. It's great to have your fortune read for fun. I love to do that as well. But what's more helpful is to understand the aspects that are currently at work in your life, the energy that's around, and the control that you have over that situation in making the best choices for your own life to manifest sometimes things that you didn't even think were possible for yourself.
And every time you have a reading, every time you pull cards for yourself, or you're pulling cards for somebody else, you're still learning something important in your own journey, in your own path. And for those who think, summer, I don't want to wait that long. For some time now in Inspired Chi, Tracy has been doing insight readings. And I would strongly encourage you to pop on over to our site and check out the insight readings. This is such an interesting process that Tracy goes through. And Tracy, would you talk? And we have an insight reading.
We do have one currently up for those who want experience. Right. But I'll talk about that in just a minute. First, I want to apologize for the dogs that are apparently going crazy outside. If you can hear that in this. Very, very distracting. But so our insight opportunities were created in our own personal Facebook group 3 years ago. And it began because I personally follow the lunar cycles in my goal setting so I can stay on track and so that I can manifest. So a new moon would be representative of new intentions that you might want to set because it's the most advantageous time to start a new goal, a new project. And the full moon is usually when you tweak that project and release what no longer serves you, both in any aspect that you're looking at, about your own personal life, your career, any way you want to look at it. So we created this group in between readings for our clients. Our clients should really only come and see us. I mean, we'd love to see you for other things.
We do. Come visit.
You should only really be coming for a reading every 3 to 6 months. So you have the time to allow that to unfold, to do the work, to really understand. And in between that time period, these insight opportunities are helpful to help you connect with your own guides. And we kind of facilitate that channel for you in the sense that we'll create a question, and that question will be based on what the planetary influences are at that time so that you're able to navigate that in the most positive way for you. We'll have you call in your guides and do a general reading. You might see 3 cards. You would tune into your guides, tune into the questions, take a deep breath, and choose the card. Once you've done that, you'll be getting a general message. And it's important to remember that the general messages, some of them will be yours, some of them will not be yours, because it is a general reading. For a more personalized, intimate experience, you would want to do a one-on-one. But in these insight opportunities, you get a message, you get a little bit of advice, you get maybe an idea of what the best new intention would be for you. That is something that you chose. So we do that every 2 weeks, sometimes more, so that our clients in between readings can tap in, focus, and have a channel to do that, to get maybe messages, more pieces of advice, some type of inspiration in between their sessions that is more on their own terms. And they develop a little bit more of a relationship with their own guides and participating in that.
And for our audience, make sure you pop on over to inspiredchiradio.com. And the gift away for this week is our signature reading, which is a 3x3 reading. And this is really a combination of readings that Tracy and I do together. Tracy using the tarot cards or a variety of cards, other oracle decks, and me adding a perspective from the Akashic Records. So that's in addition to the reading Tracy's already done as part of the tutorial. The gift away this week is that signature 3x3 reading. And Tracy, would you speak to that for just a moment? Because that was something that is relatively new for us, but we have both found this very, very effective.
Yes, it has been very helpful in kind of creating that pattern. One of the things that's also over on inspiredchiradio.com right now is the interactive insight experience for the new moon that at the time of air just happened last night. The energy is still very ripe for that. If you want to go over and check out that experience and get your message, there is a new moon in Pisces. Pisces is the water sign of emotions. There's a lot maybe that you might be getting in touch with that'll aid you in your next piece of goal setting. So the 3-layer reading, which is going to be part of our gift away, please do enter to win, is an energy read of the chakras, past, present, future read from the tarot and messages from your spirit guides in that way, and a glimpse into your past lives and seeing how not just things from your past that you carry with you that you've experienced in this lifetime, but things that you may have experienced in another lifetime that might be holding you back. So it's kind of a glimpse of your energetic patterns, the aspects that are around you right now, where some of that resistance might be coming from, and what you can do to overcome that in the path of least resistance, right? Because we like things to happen quickly, or I know I like things to happen quickly.
Well, and so do I.
Like, what's next? So I think the 3-layer reading deals with that past, present, future. A lot of times what can come up for a client isn't necessarily what they asked about. I always say, if you have more questions, absolutely, give me more questions. But if you came to me asking about your boyfriend and your guides want to talk about your job because you're getting laid off tomorrow, I'm sorry, they're going to overrule you. They're going to say, get your head out of the clouds because we have something else we need to focus on.
Right.
So that being said, it's also good to formulate some type of question and have some type of conversation with your guides even before you step into any reading.
So for our audience, and I would really encourage you to check out the insight readings because it is such a wonderful way to perhaps ease yourself into using tarot as one of the touchstones in your lives to help you understand what your path is, because a lot of times we don't even really know what our journey is. We're still trying to put a finger on it. If we knew what it was, we probably would be doing it better.
We'd probably be bored by now because we knew the ending, right?
Right, exactly. We would probably, again, that's why I like the Tower cards. Like, great, exciting things are happening. And when we talk about the 3-layer reading, or the 3x3 as I always call it, if you can visualize this, there are 3 cards across. You have 3 layers of 3. And Tracy, I have to tell you, when we were at the Awaken event back in the fall up at Bucks County Community College, part of Greg Campese's an Awaken Center for Human Evolution event, so many clients said, well, that's just really weird. Like, no matter if you read the cards left to right or up to down, it's telling you the same message. And they found that so interesting. And I said, well, your message is your message, and it's going to be what you need to hear. So the universe is going to give you as many opportunities to see the message, and repetitively if necessary. It would be wonderful if we had caller ID from the universe, but we do. It's the signs, symbols, synchronicities, the deja vu moments. That is your caller ID from the universe. It may not show up on your cell phone as universe, but the messages are there. They're yours to receive. And a great, great starting place is with the insight messages, the insight readings.
Right, because one of the things that we have done, which was unexpected, it wasn't part of a plan here, is we've taken those insight readings, which started out as just you're choosing 3 cards, and then at the bottom I'm going to post here and you're going to see what the cards said or look like. It evolved last year into an audio reveal, and this year it has now become a YouTube video. And the reason that we switched up that format was because a lot of people found that seeing the images of the cards was helpful in creating that experience around their message. And sometimes when you pick up a card, even when, I've had these cards forever. I love them. They're my favorite. I'm not supposed to say that, but it's true. So I opened this up right here. I may have read this card for 100 clients, 100 different ways, and might just see this plant back here for the first time during someone's reading if it's relevant. So seeing those images is really a part of the interactive experiences, why we moved it over to the YouTube platform, so that not only are you getting a deeper message and a connection and being able to have something that might mean something specific to you, but also because there is a lot of people within our community that are healers, yes, that are intuitives. So knowing a little bit about that card and how it's seen through the eyes of different people at different times, meaning different things, is encouraging. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is watch tarot readers on YouTube, because I just really enjoy to see how their take is on the card in the given situation, and also how they encompass that in the general readings. So whether you're seeking because you want your own personal development in that lunar cycle, or you're seeking because you want to learn more about tarot, and we haven't released our videos about that or our class about that yet, you can learn a lot just by watching. I have clients that, and well, we both do, we have clients that will choose card number 2, yes, and will listen to that message, and that will be specific about them, but then they'll go back and listen to the 1 and the 3 just to kind of get a sense and feel for the readings, whether they have a set of cards for their own personal development, or they're reading for other clients. One of the last pieces that I do want to leave you with, as I love tarot. I will continue to read tarot. I will continue to teach tarot. But if this is your first rodeo, I highly recommend an oracle deck. I started with the runes. It was less intimidating. There wasn't as many. I was able to connect. And at the time, again, I was using it for my own source of personal development and seeking and fortune telling. So I would always recommend an oracle card that speaks to you. If you're a numbers person, a numerology deck. If you're drawn to angels, an angel deck. Something like that where you can kind of connect to your guides, get your messages, journal them out in a less intimidating way than tarot. While I would always recommend tarot, it can be very intimidating to start.
And I would agree with you. I think it's so easy for us to look at a picture and say, well, I like the color, or I like this. Don't underestimate the value of that. You are developing your own intuition. You're beginning to trust your own intuition. Don't underestimate the value of what you already know, because each of us have these gifts. We just don't necessarily develop them. And speaking of gifts, please remember to go over to inspiredchiradio.com. Check out our site. Continue to look at the Insight Opportunity readings that Tracy posts.
Subscribe on our YouTube.
And I will tell you that this was supposed to be our final episode, but we have another gift for the audience. We're going to have one more episode coming.
Surprise! We got a bonus.
Surprise! It's a bonus, yes. And it has been an absolute, I love to spend time with Tracy. It's always something, it's always a hoot, that is for sure. And speaking about the tarot is just a fascinating subject for me. When we started this series, Tracy, it was no accident that we started with a tarot episode with Nick Johnzak. And we were ending, supposedly.
We were intending to end.
We were intending, which again is a great reminder that the universe says, great, this was your intention, now here's what's going to happen.
Right, so that would be a positive tower.
Exactly. It's one of those this or something better moments. So we'll leave you with this message that we want to thank you if you've joined us for these first 8 episodes. We have another episode that we plan on doing. Tracy, any final messages for our audience?
I would say that with a new moon, it is a great time to set your intentions. I would say be pretty bold about it and go within to find out what you really want. Because if you're not asking for it, somebody else is going to get it. And also let your guides know that, and your angels and those who've crossed over, anyone who's guiding you that you talk to or you get messages from, let them know it's okay for them to intervene. Sometimes they just need a little bit of permission to be able to step in and help you with the synchronicities. They love when you take action. If you take a little bit of action on your own behalf and ask them for what you want, you'd be surprised at what follows.
So be bold in stating your intentions, claim your victories, claim what you want for your life, seek the support, accept the support, be grateful. And with that, we will say we are very grateful that you tuned in. Bright blessings to all of you from Tracy and I at Inspired Chi Radio.
Thank you so much for listening this week to Inspired Chi Radio. Be sure to join your host, Tracy Sanjanitti and AJ Johnsack, for another edition next Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific Time and 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Stay inspired.